Only 66% of women express confidence in their ability to retire comfortably, compared to 76% of men. That is why now more than ever, it is imperative that you gain the knowledge you need to close this gap.
Confidence in retirement plans is essential. In today's episode, we are interviewing Anne-Marie Rogers. And I'm telling you, we're going to be offering all the strategies available out there for you to feel comfortable making the plans to retire comfortably. Don't miss this episode.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Liz Faircloth.
And I am Andressa Gidelli. We are the co-hosts of the Real Estate Investor Show. Super happy to have Anne-Marie with us today from Quest. You have seen so many different types of retirement plans. And I want to make sure we kind of like pick your brain here and bypass. What have you seen that other investors are doing in terms of strategies to retire comfortably?
Well, first of all, thank you ladies so much for having me here today. It's such a pleasure, and it is such a great opportunity to come and chat, and talk about retirement planning for women, especially. I think the key to retirement planning in 2024 is really having a diversified portfolio. And a lot of people will come to us at Quest and they will say, well, my portfolio is diversified. I've got mutual funds and I've got stock investments and I've got some, maybe annuities or CDs, bonds. But the problem is that those are all considered publicly traded investments. And so for us here at Quest, I think, we find that the key is absolutely have those types of investments, but you probably also want some other options, perhaps something more tangible, like some real estate based assets, perhaps some private company investments or syndications or something that's kind of that alternative style investment to maybe the traditional way that a lot of us have been saving for retirement in the stock market exclusively.
Can we start here too, Anne-Marie? So many people could probably agree they want to retire comfortably, especially women, right? They just want to be safe and secure and have that comfort. What are some steps that they can even take to identify what that looks like for them? What is that first thing that they can do to say, what does that even look like for me? And then how do I move towards it?
It's so interesting because I saw a statistic the other day and it was saying that in the United States now, more than 50% of households, the finances are actually managed by women. And it's interesting because a lot of times when you look into various types of like polls and, they're talking about like financial literacy or how, comfortable you feel with your finances or retirement planning. Typically it's females that say, I feel underprepared or there's not enough resources out there for me. And so, I think the first step is always to seek that education and really take a deep dive into what your goals are, like you said, what it looks like to be comfortable for you. Some people in retirement, they're like, I want to, go off and I want to travel, or some people are looking to relocate, or, some are still paying off student loans for their kids. Everybody has a little bit of a different financial situation. So I think that's the first step, is identifying really what your goals are and start looking at your finances.
When we look back, right? I have a picture of me over here somewhere behind me, and my grandparents are holding me, and they were 65 at that time. My mom is 65 now, and they do not look the same. They do not look the same at all. My mom was in Carnival. I just saw her. She's in Brazil right now, right? In winter here, she is there. And we had Carnival. She was on the parade, right? My grandmother on that picture looked like she was ready to like settle down the situation. Right now, I think it's very different retirement, right? When people say that they want to retire, doesn't mean that they don't want to be active. I think that's a very specific stigma. And I think that really thinking about the lifestyle that you want to live in a holistic approach, I don't think a lot of people just go there. I think they just stay on the number. What is the number? And then they're like, okay, what are you going to do with that number? So what have you seen in terms of mistakes right? Because we wanna make sure that we are avoiding those. What are the biggest mistakes that have you seen when people are planning to retire?
Once I think they come into the world of investing, I think the biggest maybe roadblock that I see for people is that they know that they want to get involved in real estate. They know that this is where I could make high returns. But I think they struggle to actually connect the dots and do that first investment. And it can be scary when the only way that you have traditionally invested has been perhaps through your 401k with your job or working with a financial advisor, to cross over into that more entrepreneurial type of side where, you have to be the one to perhaps network and locate the deal and to some degrees do some due diligence. And so I think, for a lot of people that can be a little bit scary. But once you get over that hurdle, then, you see that there's so much education and so many people out there that want to help and want to, be a resource, but it's kind of getting over that hump.
Yeah. And so many times what I love, and also I don't want to say hate, but what I love so much about self-directed is that you are in the controller seat. You're in the seat where I can say, okay, this is an investment I want to make due to XYZ, reasons, right? So, and that could be a challenge for so many people because they are placing their bet, if you will, not a bet, but their due diligence and their risk mitigation into an operator, right? It could be single family home, rental project that they're in, or a syndication, right? Something larger. So what are some steps if they move towards, right, working with, they have their self-directed, they're vetting the investment, they're vetting the operator. What are some, I know you guys do so much education. What is that first step that they want to be mindful of so they can avoid making the wrong decision?
I think the biggest thing is you want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are, for your best interest. And so we have a lot of clients that, maybe they're very experienced, but then we also have a good amount of people that they're coming over and they've got a retirement account, but it's their very first real estate transaction. And so I think the guidance that we always try to give them is that if you don't know how to do the due diligence, or maybe you don't know the ins and outs of that deal, you have to surround yourself with people that do. And that could come in the form of a mentor or coach, or it could come in the form of actually hiring, a CPA or an attorney to review the documents or help to advocate for you. So I think that's something that people can become a little overwhelmed with as well. But there are so many resources and educational events. Obviously, Invest Hurricane. I know when I went last year, I was just blown away by the amount of vendors that you guys had and all the available resources for women that are out there that they can really kind of be building their power team as they're there at the event.
Absolutely. And I think that some folks are coming from a very successful career, right? They have built their retirement based on their career. They're confident in that industry that they were in, but they're quote unquote newbies in real estate. And I think many of them underestimate the transferable skills that they have, the decision-making process. So if you are one of them, please understand that all that you have built, the skill set that you have built are transferable to real estate. And as Anne-Marie is saying, you get the knowledge, plus you get the community. It's impossible that you're not going to take confident actions. What I want to really dissect a little bit more here is that I talk about Susie. So Susie, people, for all of you that are listening, Susie is a woman between 35 and 45 years old. She's listening, Anne-Marie, and she's like, great, but I don't have that retirement plan. That's not my situation. I was in either another career, or I didn't make great decisions in my life, or I didn't know what I didn't know. Bottom line is, I do not have a retirement plan to begin with. And to be honest, they feel intimidated. They feel ashamed of that situation. And to the point that they don't even want to talk to anybody about it. They know they should and they must in order for them to reach their full potential. but they don't feel comfortable with that. So to minimize that impact of that first conversation, is there still time? Is there still a way to make this happen?
Absolutely. Even if you don't have a retirement account, or like you said, maybe for a series of reasons, maybe you cashed that 401k out that you did have, and now you're left and, you're starting to think about retirement planning. It is always an option to set up an account and begin making deposits into it. We have clients that they'll set up an account with us, and they do have a 401k that they can access and they can move funds over. But plenty of people are still working in corporate America and they can't touch those funds until they would leave. And so they may come over to Quest and set up something like a Roth IRA or an education account or health savings account where they can invest in that, in these types of alternative assets, and look at it that you're supplementing maybe what else you have going on. And if it is the only one and you're just getting started and thinking, well, how can I get involved in real estate if, I'm setting up a Roth IRA and maybe depositing like $6,000, can I really do a deal with that? You absolutely can. And we, in fact, have some education where we focus on investments in real estate that you can do with $10,000 or less. And the very first investment that I ever did, I partnered along people that I had met and networked with in my community, and did my own very first deal more than a decade ago with like $4,000. So whether you have an account or whether you're just getting started and you really are, kind of starting from square one, that's okay. There's still a place for everyone.
I love that, Anne-Marie. So I'm curious, what did this deal look like? Let's talk about that, because 4K is in the realm of real estate is sometimes that's lower. That's a lower amount of money in the sense of some people think they need 50 grand or 100 grand. So I love that that's where you began. So tell us a little bit about what that was and, how you kind of, started the process.
A lot of times people are investing with their retirement account and they may have the full balance of what they need for the investment in there, and the IRA purchases it outright, whatever that may be. In this instance, there was an investor that we got to know, a few of us. It was myself and a few coworkers who are still here at Quest. But we knew an investor who was going to be buying a property. He was going to fix it up and then flip it. And so we did a partnered private loan from all of our IRAs. Again, I only brought a very small piece of the pie because that was all I had at that time. But I was able to do my very first deal by partnering with people in my network and getting a taste for it, learning from them, and dipping my toe in, and kind of the rest is history. Obviously, rinse and repeat since then. But I think that would be my advice to people that are just getting started is go to those networking events, like take the time and invest into getting to know people, because you may be able to partner alongside them.
I just want to break it down for the folks that are listening. So what happened with the profit that you got from it, and what are the tax benefits?
So the whole reason why people are investing in self-directed IRAs is that in that example, when the investor ended up selling the property and he made a profit, we were then paid back to our IRAs, and we were able to make that return completely tax-free. So that is really the whole reason why people are pursuing this, is that the obviously gains you can make in real estate are quite high. And on top of that, doing it in a vehicle where the gains can be completely tax-free, it's kind of a no-brainer.
And Marie, let's say we have, oh my gosh, let's do that several times per year. Is there a cap?
No, there's no cap. So there's no limitations to how much you can make off the investments and get that tax gain. Sometimes we'll get the question, well, what about the contribution maximums that I've heard of? That only pertains to just your personal deposits you'd make on top of that each year, but there's no limitation to how much you would make. And, if you have an existing retirement account, you can move over to get started as much or little of that as you like.
So just to confirm, I can make the contribution plus unlimited all the profits from others. Do you believe that, considering our current real estate market, this can be one of the tools on people's toolbox where they get together to really investing into a project, but also take the benefits of the tax, like double. It's like double. I don't know what to say. Like a
Whammy.
yeah. That's what I'm hearing.
No, it's true. And, there's lots of other tax advantages too. Certainly when you're making the gains off your investment, there's tax advantages there. But in some instances for clients, as they make deposits into something like a health savings account, you might be actually lowering your personal taxes as well. So sometimes there's benefits as the money goes in and as it's being made. So that's why we do a lot of education and consultations for free at Quest, is because there is so much information that we kind of have to get on the phone and talk one-on-one and figure out, where we can give you that benefit.
I love it, Anne-Marie. It's a project that Jess and I have worked on together. Our down payment came from one of our investors who it was about around 200K, if my memory serves me.
Around
but
that.
it was around
No,
there. 290, close, in the realm of 100K. But regardless, he put the down payment and it came from his self-directed IRA. And I just want to state what the benefit of that too is these projects, flips, new construction. There's a lot of that happening right now for a variety of reasons. It's more of like
Can I say how much he made?
Yeah, sure.
It was $47,000 that he made in a period of 6 months.
The key for everyone
and then he
listening,
was pissed because we didn't have a next project lined up. Because let's do it one more time.
You're already telling everybody my point. You know where my head is going and what I'm saying.
I'm thinking now, it's like, oh, come on, dude. We just finished up a project. If I am him, I want to do that again now. Because I thought at that time, like, he has a cap. So why would he care? Now I understand why he was pissed.
So in essence, right, you're a private lender, and there's such an opportunity where you're constantly recycling your money within an account, if you will, and getting the advantages of not getting dinged, because the flips, new construction, wholesaling, that is the highest, in terms of potentially where you're going to get taxed. Versus like a rental or a long-term asset, right? So that's a huge strategy. My question, Anne-Marie, for you is for the challenges, right? The myths. I feel like when it comes to self-directed, you can literally have 5 people in a conversation and everyone has a different opinion about something. And you're like, I don't know if that's true, but then I'm like, not like a custodian. So I can't be like, it's not true. I'm like, you got to talk to Anne-Marie and Quest, because I don't think what you're saying is legal. So let's talk about that. What are the common myths, the common, like, do not do this, so to speak, because I think so many people listening think they can do things they can't. So I'd love for you to share maybe some 1 or 2 common myths that they want to avoid.
So I'll give you a myth and I'll give you kind of a no-no in IRAs. So I think one of the biggest myths that I hear are clients that will come to us and they'll say, I cannot have a Roth IRA because their CPA has told them, hey, your income does not qualify you because it's too high. That's a myth. That's not true. You may have to go through a 2-step process where you set up a traditional and move funds from the traditional into the Roth. But anyone in the world can have a Roth IRA. And the advantage is that all of your returns are tax-free. So I think that's the biggest myth. It's the most popular account that we have. And then I think in terms of no-nos, maybe things to be mindful of is, when you're investing in IRAs, you have almost unlimited options for what you can invest into. You could take title to a piece of real estate and actually own the real estate by your IRA and flip the property, or be a landlord and collect rental income. Or you could invest in a syndication or oil and gas or private company or crypto, right? There's so many different things that you can do. But the biggest, I would say, thing to be mindful of is that there are limitations of what you can do, especially as it pertains to real estate. So for example, if you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'd like to buy a piece of real estate and I'm going to go down myself and I'll fix and flip it myself and, buy all of the materials, that unfortunately is not something that you can do. You really have to be hands off when it comes to the IRA investments. So you would simply need to hire a contractor to come out there and do that. And that contractor also can't be your family as well. So there's some limitations there. You want to be coming at it from a standpoint of this is an investment that my IRA is making. You're not personally involved in something like that. But it doesn't mean that you can't do that. And, why would you want to go down to the property and fix it up yourself anyway?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me understand this right. Because I thought, and forgive my ignorance, but I thought I could not invest on a project that I own. I am not doing the work regardless, but I also thought that I own the project. I'm hiring a contractor as I usually do. And I thought that I would not be able to do it, to invest myself direct. So you were saying that I can?
So if it's a property that you already own, you cannot have your IRA come buy it. But if you had money in your IRA and you found a brand new property that was not owned by you or your family, then that's fair game to buy.
So walk us through that. So I buy the property. Now, I have to buy it obviously using my IRA, account, if you will, but some sort of LLC that's created. Not that we need to give legal advice, but
yeah,
it's a separate entity from Liz Faircloth, right? So Liz Faircloth couldn't go buy that property, but Liz Faircloth IRA LLC can, correct? In just a general sense.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you were going to go and buy that property with your IRA. It's the same process as what you would go through if you were buying it personally, except that Quest is the one actually working with you and your title company. And on the day of the closing, we're wiring the funds from your IRA for the purchase. And now the IRA is the actual owner. So the actual buyer of the property, it'll show Quest Trust Company for the benefit of Liz Faircloth IRA account number 12345. And it's then all profit coming back to that owner, which in this case is the IRA. You could also pepper in an LLC in there as well. And we certainly have clients that do that, but your IRA is effectively its own entity.
Right. So, okay, I think this is a big myth that many people don't understand. So let's just keep going on this example. So I own it, but now there's obviously renovations that need to happen. I need to hire, whether it's the contractor, I need to hire different people I'm still involved though. I'm hiring the contractor. So technically you could argue I'm involved, but you're saying as long as you're not the one, executing the
hammer?
Like with a hammer? Is that what you're saying? Is that the line that has to get, it has to be clear?
Yeah. So, you're at the end of the day, you're the fiduciary actually for your IRA when it's a self-directed IRA. So it's your role to make good investment decisions for the account. And so when we're talking about a real estate transaction, that means hiring contractors or going out and finding a property manager or those sorts of items. But you do want to be hands off in terms of actually going down there, doing something on the property. Or if you were a real estate agent, you certainly wouldn't want to list the property when it was perhaps time to sell it. So there's some limitations there, but you're still the one that's in control and making the investment decisions. It's just that you're hiring professionals that are then going and, maybe actually executing those things for you.
That's great. So you made a great point on when we were gathering the information for this episode, where you were talking about today's environment, right? And I think you the gig era or the self employed folks out there, that they have their own company instead of the traditional employment retirement programs that we had out there, still have out there. But so for those entrepreneurs, self-employed investors that are listening, how they can create their own retirement, what are the options available for those folks?
So for those folks, you actually get the advantage of being able to set up really what's classified as kind of a self-employment style of retirement account. There's a few options. You might have heard of a SEP IRA or maybe a solo 401k. Those are really popular accounts. But the advantage is that when we talked about contribution limits a few minutes ago, the limitations for IRAs are quite low. So for the most part, if you're getting started, people may be moving over an existing IRA or 401k that they had to get started. But if you're self-employed and maybe didn't have that old 401k from corporate America, what you're able to do is to set up self-employment IRAs and make very large annual contributions, upwards of like 60, 70,000 in some cases to these plans. So they're really letting you deposit large amounts of money. And the reason for that is because when you're an entrepreneur and maybe you have your own business, you're both the employer and you're the employee. And that's actually how the contributions work, is that you get to deposit for both categories. So that's why it can be so large.
Can I ask you, when I think, because I'm now this is Liz Faircloth getting advice. No, the biggest difference between the SEP IRA and the solo 401k, can you speak to that? And why, if I'm self-employed, what are the pros and cons if I'm thinking about either one?
Charge her, Anne-Marie. Charge her. She's having a consultation with you right
Totally.
now.
This is not live. It's for anybody.
I'm
My own.
you.
I'm gonna get the invoice, Liz. See what you come on.
So we could probably do a whole episode just on this question, but
yes.
Short version for you is solo 401k would be best if you do not have any W-2 employees. You can have contract employees all day long, not a problem. But once you kind of cross over, that's probably not a good fit for you anymore. Versus, SEP IRAs, could be for someone that maybe has a small business, that would maybe be more popular, where they would actually have employees. One thing, talking about kind of real estate, why solo 401ks are so popular is because, the whole reason people are investing in IRAs is because you don't pay taxes on the gains. But there is typically one or two instances where your IRA could still pay taxes. And that is when you're investing a lot of times in investments that have debt, such as like syndications. When you're doing those specifically in a solo 401k, that tax goes away. So there's an exemption from that tax. And so when people are investing in some of those asset classes, they're typically looking to do it in that vehicle because they don't have to think about that.
Wow. I have so many follow-up selfish questions, but I'm going to hold those for the episode. What I really appreciate most about you, Anne-Marie, and your team at Quest is your commitment to education. Because this is like Pandora's box, right? Because like I said, I could talk to like 3 different real estate investors and they will have an opinion, but they actually don't have all the facts. And I love what you guys do so much is beyond the account, getting the accounts set up, of course, you educate and you really giving people options on what's best for them based on their own goals. So I just want to speak to that. I really, really appreciate the work that you guys do with our community.
Yes, thank you.
And with that, Anne-Marie, where can everyone listening learn more about you and connect with you guys further and get educated on accounts and moving forward?
So we have a special email created. That's one way that you can get in touch with us. The email is investher@questtrust.com, or you can visit our website, which is questtrust.com. You can set up a consultation with one of our certified IRA specialists. It's very no strings attached. We'll talk about your financial goals and talk about some of your investments that you're interested in doing in a self-directed IRA and see if that's a good fit for you. But outside of that, we also do webinars almost every single day of the week. We have our own really large trade show coming up, also in Texas. So we've got a lot going on and we'd love for the listeners to be a part of it.
Absolutely. All this information you guys can find on our show notes, so you don't need to freak out. You can go there and all the links are going to be there accessible for all of you. And Marie, thank you so much for all the knowledge that you bring to the table. We really appreciate your time.
Yes, likewise. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.